Brian sat in a cramped cyber cafe, surrounded by other job seekers, his eyes glued to the dusty computer screen. He had lost count of how many times he had typed, "Dear hiring manager." He clicked send on yet another application and sighed. "CV ZIMECHOKA kuliko mimi," he muttered. The cyber cafe attendant, who had seen him there almost daily, chuckled. "Boss, hada printer inakujua sasa." Brian forced a smile, but deep inside, the weight of rejection was crushing him. Later that evening, he met Aisha after her shift. They sat on a concrete bench near the busy streets, watching the traffic crawl by. She held his hand and squeezed it gently. "Brian, one day, we'll laugh about this," she said, her voice full of belief. He exhaled. "I just wish that day would come sooner." Aisha smiled. "It will. Just don't give up." She always knew what to say. Her job as a receptionist wasn't glamorous, but at least it was something. Brian envied her stability, even as he appreciated her unwavering support. The next day, Brian went to see his best friend Kevin at Gikamba Market. Unlike Brian, Kevin never bothered with job applications. His business of selling secondhand clothes kept him going. "Bro, you're here stressing over jobs while I'm making real money," Kevin said, tossing a t-shirt to a customer. "Selling mitumba is not my thing, man," Brian responded. Kevin laughed. "Neither is starving. Acha kujifanya corporate, kazi ni kazi?" Brian shook his head, smiling. Kevin always found a way to turn anything into a joke. Then the breakthrough came. A company finally called Brian for an interview. There was just one problem. He had no suit. Kevin, ever the problem solver, lent him one. Unfortunately, it was 2 sizes too big. As Brian stood before the mirror, he looked like a pastor about to deliver a sermon. "Sawatu, utao nakana na wisdom mingi," Kevin joked. At the interview, things didn't go any better. The HR manager, Mr. Otieno, barely blinked as Brian stumbled over his answers. The room felt colder with each passing second. "Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch," Mr. Otieno finally said. Brian knew what that meant. Rejected again. Brian left the office and bought a samosa from a street vendor to ease his frustration. The vendor struggled with the mobile payment app, grumbling as the queue grew longer. Without thinking, Brian stepped in, quickly fixing the issue for him. "Young man, you're good with this tech stuff?" a voice asked behind him. He turned to see a well-dressed man watching him. "Yes, sir," Brian replied hesitantly. "Come see me tomorrow. I need someone like you at my company." A few weeks later, Brian stood on a balcony overlooking the Nairobi skyline, wearing a crisp office outfit. Aisha hugged him proudly, while Kevin shook his head with a playful smirk. "So now you're Mr. Digital Marketer?" Kevin teased. Brian laughed. Even my CV needed a break. As the sun set over the city, he finally understood. Sometimes, the best opportunities come when you least expect them.